We need to ensure that PTA is here for the next generation of children, families, and schools. That's why over the last few years, when PTAs asked us to make investments to refresh and secure our brand and provide more hands-on materials, excuse me, guidance and support to our leaders, we developed national training resources for state leaders and launched a new learning management system, Thrive. And we updated the national standards for family school partnerships to enhance our family engagement efforts. We continue to drive federal advocacy and engage the voices of our members to help at the state and local level as well. We know you need more training for your volunteers to keep your PTAs operating smoothly. And you need leadership support and guidance as you run your PTA. No other organization does what we do, from advocacy to programs, training, grants, and other resources. I know that you all know this. With the new proposed dues rate, we would be able to do so much more to support you in the field and expand our leadership development and advocacy efforts to best serve our children, families, and schools.
That's right, Yvonne. However, the unfortunate truth is that it costs more to provide those services that our communities need. Every dollar of membership dues that's sent to National PTA covers the cost of many fundamental services supporting PTAs across the country, including advocacy expenses to advance our public policy priorities, supporting the internal work of developing and supporting our leaders, ensuring a PTA presence in every state, which is critical for federal advocacy efforts. Inflation has reduced the value of the dues provided as well. The current $2.25 dues rate is now worth only $1.71 in today's market. National PTA has pulled funds from our reserves to fill the gap and meet your needs. However, we're not being good stewards of our resources by continuing to dip into our reserves and operating in the same way. Your board of directors has approved two budgets, one that presumes the current dues rate and one that is based on a proposed new dues rate. If our delegates approve the new dues rate during our virtual convention in just a few weeks, the board of directors has set October 1 as the implementation date. I'll repeat that. If the new dues rate is approved at convention, the board of directors has set October 1 as the implementation date. Staff have been instructed to create a new constituent services team that will provide the kind of support that was provided by our previous national service representatives, who our states grew to rely on in the past. We would also offer more training, coaching, and support on the standards of affiliation and a personal customized connection to National PTA. All things that we've heard that are big needs in the states and locals. We must position the association to address the emerging issues facing our school communities and also to grow to reach new members. This proposed dues rate will go a long way to build tomorrow's PTA and keep our mission active in our communities.
I believe that, Bill. From a membership perspective, we want to be sure people understand that PTA is for everyone. We directly serve 16.5 million students across the country, and across America, there are another 51 million students in public schools and 5 million students in private schools we still need to reach. We need to reach every family and school community in order to move our mission forward. Research shows that people become engaged in associations because they trust and respect the work they do, feel they share the same values and beliefs, and are inspired by our mission. Our membership campaign, alongside our diversity, equity, and inclusion work, are moving the needle in the right direction to help everyone understand why they belong in PTA. While PTA membership was down during the pandemic, no surprise, I'm sure, we have added new members over the last 2 fiscal years. National PTA has seen an encouraging rebound from the pandemic-driven drop in membership. While we are still not back to pre-pandemic numbers, as of April 30th, we've seen a nearly 7% increase in membership just this year. Thank you for all your remarkable membership work that has brought us back this far.
That is excellent news, Allison. Membership is so important because it amplifies our one voice for every child. From the halls of every local unit to the halls of Congress, PTA is a leader in advocacy, and we are one tremendous voice that supports and fights for all our nation's children. PTA members across the country have played a critical role in advancing for common sense solutions to gun violence, including the passage of the bipartisan Safer Communities Act last summer. PTA members have also played a critical role in advocating for child nutrition reauthorization and helping schools implement improved meal and snack offerings and address food insecurity. And our association played a critical role in the development and introduction of the Bill of Rights for Students and Parents resolution, which is a significant step in ensuring that all students have access to a high quality, equitable, and well-rounded education in a welcoming, supportive, and inclusive school. Our association has also continuously advocated for increased and equitable federal investment in our public education system, particularly for Title I schools and the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, to ensure all children have access to an adequately funded public school that improves their overall well-being and allow them to reach their full potential. Our advocacy work is grounded in our belief that every child deserves access to equitable education in a safe, supportive, and inclusive environment that encourages them to grow and thrive. Each of you are on the front lines advocating as one voice while working to provide safe and supportive learning environments, promote empathy and understanding, and empower students with the knowledge and skills they need to be successful and thrive in life. It's amazing what our PTAs do. However, there continue to be great disparities across our country in the quality and the access to educational opportunities, and the ability for parent voice to be included in the important decisions affecting our youth. We need a revitalized and unified voice, boldly urging our decision makers from the schoolhouse to Capitol Hill that they must take action on the critical issues facing our children, families, and schools. The proposed new dues rate will allow us to do more in all of these areas.
Thank you, Colin. And thank you, Yvonne, Allison, and Bill for this wonderful conversation. We need PTA leaders who are adequately trained to confidently run their PTAs and engage with their families and school officials to create a community that elevates learning and enhances partnerships that support every child's success. And we know you know this because you're doing the work already. I want to tell you a story that happened to me a couple of months ago in my own state of Oklahoma. I was in Oklahoma City at a Walmart, and I was there with my husband. He was a little bit to the right looking at something while I was going down the middle of the aisle, headed towards where the bread is. I wanted to get some bread. And there was this gentleman that came out of nowhere and said, "How dare you? How dare you raise the dues for PTA?" Now, I had never met this man. I don't know how he met me or knew who I was, go figure. But he thought it was okay to approach me in a Walmart in that manner. Was I shocked? Yes. Was my husband startled? Absolutely, when I put my hand up and kind of kept him to the side. But I had him walk with me. I asked him to walk with me when we talked about the dues rate. I asked him, did he feel uncomfortable with the dues rate? And he said, absolutely, he felt uncomfortable. And I asked him why. And he said, well, because we can't keep asking our parents to keep giving us money. And I said, where does that money go to? And how does it work inside of your school? Now, by this time, we're already at the back of the aisle. And if you know how Walmarts are, most of them, in the back aisle, there's eggs and milk. There's the dairy on the back wall. And so I pushed my cart up to past the milk into the eggs while we're continuing to talk. And I'm listening to this gentleman. Well, I grabbed a pack of eggs and I said, you know what? These eggs have came down a little bit. I remember when they were like $5. And he said, yep, I remember that too. And I said, how often do you get eggs? And he said, well, maybe twice a week. My family, we value the eggs. We cook them and use them in everything. And I said, yeah, me and my husband love them too. We don't cook them and use them that much, but we do use them. And I said, you know, these eggs, they were $3.29. I said, you know, we value eggs, right? Because we know that it's going to be there for our families. And he said, absolutely. And I said, PTA is only asking for $1.75 once a year. That's it. Do you value what you do as a PTA leader in this association and the work that you do for families and communities? And he was stunned. And he said, I never thought about it like that. I said, if you don't value the work that you do in your school and how it affects children, how do we expect anybody else to do it? And I tell you guys this story because we need this. And I'm going to say it boils down to this. We believe that this proposed new dues rate will allow us to provide the resources and the level of service that many of you say that you need. And this is on the state level. And it trickles down to the local level because as a state leader, you are invested in making sure your local leaders have what they need to be successful. And as your national PTA president, if I could ask every last one of you to pull up on the screen and show your faces, I would, because this is so important to this association. I ask that you vote yes for this proposed new dues rate in June. It's time to invest in our mission. We have had a 50-cent dues rate and got it in 2012 since 2000, 50 cents. We can't keep operating the same way that we've done for past 23 years now. We can't. We have to move forward in the same direction as one PTA, so all PTAs can thrive as they forward our mission. Is this scary? Absolutely, it is. We're not going to sugarcoat anything with you. It is scary, but it's important for this association. We are a national association that has 54 working components to make us strong. If one link is not working, we are there to help. And this is important for our children across this country. And I can't stress that enough. And I want to say thank you. Thank you to the other officer team that knows, each one of them knows how important this is. And that's why we've taken time to have this discussion with you. And I want to say thank you for all that you do. The work that you do is truly making an impact on our families and most importantly, our children in our schools and our communities. And that's why we have came to you. The board of directors have came to you and asked you for $1.75 once a year. Not $4, $1.75. And I want to say thank you for being part of this session. This is us being as transparent as we can be with all of you. If you haven't already, you can type your questions in the Q&A box, and we're going to get started now.
Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Beth Rourke with National PTA, and I'm going to be moderating the questions here tonight. The first question is for Anna. It states, I keep reading about PTAs switching to PTOs. Is that taken into consideration for the dues increase? It feels like advocating for PTOs falls on the backs of PTAs.
That's a great question. And I'm going to be very honest with you. PTAs we have PTAs leaving PTA for a lot of reasons. It's not about this dues increase. They've been leaving PTA and going PTO. Now, will this actually have PTAs go to PTOs? Maybe, right? But it's the value that we have to sell. People are not knowing the value that we have in an association. As a national association, I want to remind everybody, this is not a mom and pops. This is a national association that has been doing this work for 126 years. Are we scared or nervous that PTAs will go to PTOs? Absolutely. We don't want to lose any of our PTAs, but we have been losing them for years. How do we get them back? is by showing them the value, teaching our local leaders what the value of this association is, from the local leaders to the council, the district, and the region, all the way to our state leadership. They need to know what the value is, and then they can explain the value to all of our members. We have had survey research done, and people have said, it's not the amount, it's the value and not understanding the work that we do. And that's important. And I hope that that answers the question.
The second question, would National PTA consider a 25-cent increase every year for the next 10 years to make the burden less on our units, but still getting more funds to the National PTA? I'm going to hand that off to Yvonne.
Thank you, Beth. The National PTA Board of Directors is open to all suggestions from all of our members. So anything that you want to ask or bring to the table, we are willing to listen.
Sorry about that. The third question, I am concerned that there is little equity in the amount of money coming to National PTA from various states. For example, I live in California and we will be contributing millions of dollars in dues. Other states are going to be contributing very little. Is there a way to resolve that? Bill, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So I guess first the memberships are paid by individuals. So we're asking individual people to, pay $4, $1.75 increase over the $2.25, rather than asking state units to pay that. It's coming from individual people. So that's a start. Secondly, it's wonderful that we have so many members in California. It's wonderful that we have so many members in other states as well. And we have other states that don't have as many members, but we're one PTA. And when it comes down to it and we start doing advocacy work, for example, the entire system has to be strong. We have to have a national system that is powerful and has a big voice on the Hill. And that can't happen by any individual state. We've got to have everybody in the mix.
The next question is, does the dues rate start at the beginning of this school year or the next year, giving us some time to change our bylaws?
Yep, I'll jump on that one. So this
Okay.
is the implementation date's October 1st. We looked at a lot of scenarios and came to the decision on October 1st to give units a little bit of time, but know that these had to be implemented this year.
And then there's a follow-up to that one. Can you explain the implementation process if the proposed dues rate is approved? Do members who join prior to October 1 pay at the current rate, and members who join after October 1 pay at the increased rate? Will bylaws need to be revised to reflect the new dues rate? I am going to give that one to Yvonne.
Thank you, Beth. So that's a great question. So I've been a state president, as many of us have been. If I was a state president now and we were having a dues increase, I would try to do whatever I could to get as much membership before October 1st, because it is at the old rate. So if you collect dues, anything that you collect before the October 1st, 2023 deadline of when we would increase, that is at the old rate. So that gives you an incentive to get your membership more in the August, September timeframe, which is when typically we have our membership tables, and that's when our highest membership recruiting. Some schools even start in July. So anything after July 1st through October 1st will be at the old rate. I think there was another part to that question, Beth, but
Yes, do members who join prior to 10-1 pay at the current rate, and members who join after 10-1 pay at the increased rate?
yes.
Will bylaws need to be revised to reflect the new dues rate?
If your bylaws state what your rate is, then they do have to be changed. Obviously, you can't, not every state has the same bylaws, but if your bylaws say that your rate is, let's say, $10, then, and you're raising it to $11.75, then you do have to go to your members and get that changed in your bylaws at your next convention or your annual meeting.
The next question I'll give to Allison. Why did you decide on $1.75 increase instead of 50 cents or even $1 or even $1.50?
Thanks, Beth. That's a great question. And I can tell you that there was some lively discussion about all of this, right? But what we tried to look at was, what do we need? And more importantly, what do all of our states need? And how do we go about fulfilling those needs? The board looked very carefully at a number of proposals. And we also tried to look not just, again, at the dollar amount, but what is it that we're trying to do with this dollar amount? The board, I think, was very discerning in looking at all of those choices and coming back to say, this is the amount that we need to move the membership association forward with all of our constituent associations. And that means you guys in every state across the country and in Europe.
The next question I'll give to Anna. I thought that we could propose that we could not propose any amendments to the proposals. How can we suggest a more incremental increase at this time?
We actually did. We did give people the opportunity to provide feedback. And I'm just going to say that has been shared with all of the state presidents and all of the president-elects. That has also been on our website. With more information, we gave everybody the opportunity to provide feedback, not just only on the proposed dues rate. Members had the opportunity to comment on the proposed bylaw amendments, to comment on the proposed resolutions and the resolutions to rescind, and in particular about the new dues rate. And we opened up that portal from March 21st to April 10th. All comments, and I'm going to say it, all comments have been reviewed, brought to the board, and no changes have been made to the proposed resolutions, resolutions to rescind, the proposed bylaw amendments, and even to the proposed new dues rate that are posted at pta.org/elections. That has been there. People did have the opportunity to share, to be able to share their input. And what we know is that we would love for everybody, I'm going to say it again, we would love for you guys to support this, because we have been very transparent. And I hope you guys understand how important this is. Thank you for the question, Beth.
Of course. Next one, 2.5 million members nationwide right now. Raising the dues by $1.75 each equals an additional $4.375 million each year. Would love to know how much that money is going to be spent every year, not one time, but every year if it passes. Bill, I'm going to hand that to you.
Yeah, thanks, Beth. And that's a good question. Thanks for the question. I mean, there's no reason to gather money unless you're going to use it for something good when you're working in a nonprofit. And as we as a board looked at all of the various options, we heard the needs from all of the states and from large locals and such that, you know, folks were coming to us with. It was clear that we had some significant needs that we were going to have to cover. And as we looked at the various scenarios, it was clear that this was the best scenario to make that happen. So we've laid out on the website on pta.org some of the ways that we plan to spend the money. And those are, you know, right out there for everybody to read. Everything that's significant is right there, and your board are good stewards. They're all members. They're all people like you. They're all folks that have done a lot of work in leadership at the national level, but they've also done a lot of work in leadership at the local level and at the state level to get to the national level. And they understand it. They understand the impact, and they know what it means to make this kind of a move. But at the same time, you know, it's all about service. It's all about making sure we can pay for the services that need to be provided. And we know there's a huge gap out there in terms of providing support to the states and locals, and we have to fill it. And the only way we can fill it is by getting more money to do that.
Okay, the next question that I'm going to hand off to you, Allison. At my council, I see great value in belonging to and working with my state organization. I see little value from the association of National PTA. It seems like the wondrous thing National PTA does are not filtering down to us as units and councils. Hard to see where it is worth it. Allison.
Wow, that's a good question, and it's a tough question. So I will say this about that. There are so many resources available at pta.org for everything. At the current time, I will say, as Vice President of Membership, I am most familiar with all of the membership resources. And the membership resources are astounding. Now, do I think they could be a little bit easier to find? Well, sure, but we need money to invest in the website, right? I will tell you that staff does a great job trying to keep up, especially with all of the new resources that are constantly being provided, not just for membership, but for advocacy, for programs, for grants, for just an amazing array of services that are offered, not just to states, but to districts, councils, regions, and also to local PTAs. Do we need to make them a little easier to find? Sure. Do we need to do a better job promoting them? Sure. I can tell you again that my direct experience with leading the membership committee and team over the last 2 years, we have had tremendous input and response from our state membership leaders who I agree are kind of astounded at how much there really is. Please take the time to go look at the website. There's just an amazing amount of information and resources and tools and grant opportunities there for you.
The next question is about the vote in particular. Yvonne, I'll hand that to you. When is the vote and who gets to vote?
Thanks for that question, Beth. So all of the information that you need about voting is at pta.org/elections, but the voting will open on June 15th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. You will have 24 hours to vote. You will get an electronic, it'll come by email. So please, please, please watch your emails because we have a lot of important information and a lot of important business that's happening at the convention. And then you have 24 hours to submit your ballot, and then that's it. There won't be another opportunity unless there is a runoff. Then you will get another email, but otherwise that's the email you need to watch. So on July 15th, you need to make sure at 4:30 that you are paying attention because that's when it's going to come. What was the second part of the question? I'm sorry. There was another piece to the question.
I think you said July. Did you want to clarify?
I meant June. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
But there was another part to the question.
It was asking when is the vote and who gets to vote?
Oh, who gets to vote? So you have to be credentialed by your state. So if you are, obviously you're a PTA member, and then your state you have to get credentialed by your state. Unless you are a national PTA governance person, then you can be credentialed by national PTA. But this is information you will have far beyond June 15th. You won't find out like that day. It'll be a couple of weeks before or a week before.
I'm going to give this one to Bill. I am a national PTA supporting member. Has there been any consideration of expanding that program as a way to increase non-dues revenue?
I'm really glad you teed that up. So for anyone who's not a national supporting member, like the person who asked the question and like me, please become a national supporting member. We would love that. Yes, we have had conversations about the national supporting member option. The other thing I'd add is that our national staff have done an astounding job at finding grants, for non-dues revenue, that a lot of that which has gone to states and locals. And it's been terrific that we've been able to grow that side of things, but it's not enough. And it's not bringing in enough money in ways that we have the flexibility to spend it. So yes, if we could get everyone who's currently a member to be a national supporting member, that would be fantastic. If we could double that, it'd even be more fantastic. And we'd be happy to have it. The last thing I'd mention is that we have had a task force that's been looking at new ideas for structures and revenue and such. And we're early in our conversations still, but we are trying to think broadly about PTA as a system and how we can look at that entire system and how we can make sure that we have the resources moving forward in our next 126 years. We've got to be very visionary about that, and it can't just be individual membership and non-due stuff. So we're looking broadly at a number of options. But yes, go out there and support national supporting members. We'll take it.
The next question I'm going to give to Anna. What will the impact be if the proposed dues increase rate fails or is not approved?
First, I'm going to say we won't be here for 126 more years. And I'm just going to be brutally honest with you. So here's where we stand right now. If we do not get this proposed dues rate, we will have to have a discussion under Yvonne, and under her term and her board will have to discuss the building. We will have to let many staff members go. And I'm going to stress this. Staff this year, for the first time ever, resource development has surpassed membership dollars. So our resource development team and staff at the national headquarters have kept the same programs, kept them running, and even got even more. We have new resources and sponsors understanding the value of what PTA is and supporting and giving us non-dues revenue to support to continue to support the programs, right? Like I said, we're going to have to let staff go. We will not be able to have any in-person conventions or have a service to our states, the states, the way that they need to have. Over the last couple of years, under my term, we've had the Field Service Committee work with the state leadership. And these are volunteers themselves, and it's turned into full-time jobs for them. So imagine a volunteer having to work and come home and do another 24 full-time job supporting states. So we will not be able to provide that service. We will lose a lot. Like Bill said earlier, we only have a certain amount of reserves that we can keep going into. We can't use all that reserves because once it's gone, it's gone. And this association should be here for 126 more years of all the work and the impact and the changes that we have created in our schools and our communities for teachers, and most importantly for our children. This proposed dues rate is extremely important, and everybody is going to feel it. And I have to stress this because I'm going to be honest with you. PTA is not one state. PTA consists of 54 state constituents. It's not one state bigger or larger or smaller than the other. We are about servicing all 54 states. All 54 states have the opportunity to get programming in their states. They have the opportunity to win grants and to provide for their local units, which we have provided grants, many dollars going back into our states. There are a lot of local leaders don't have any idea about that, but we do. PTA is 54 working components to make us strong. And if we don't have that, we will not be able to keep operating 10 years, 15 years from now, the way that we have been for this last 12 years.
The next one I'm going to give to Colin. Sadly, I believe that you aren't really listening to what we feel that our units need. We have suggested many other options to you, and it seems like you are unwilling to make any compromise. We don't want national to go without an increase, but we are also very concerned about such a rapid jump and what that will do to our membership numbers, which we are just now finally beginning to rebound from.
I appreciate this question. And I want to say the discussions we had as a complete board took all of these ideas. I don't think there's an idea that's been brought forward from anybody that wasn't looked at by our board, by your board of directors. Okay, so we have been listening. That portal was opened for quite some time, and a lot of these ideas didn't come through. And so we have to move forward in the best way that we can. And that's where we're at today. we have lost due to inflation a large chunk of our dues. So we are, in actuality, we're playing catch up. We're just trying to get back to the status quo of where we were. And hopefully we won't be in this position in 20 years down the road and we can do something different. But right now, we have to get back to a level playing field. And that's really what we're trying to do. I mean, when we're talking about 50 cents over 20 years, that amounts to virtually nothing in today's dollar. So we have been listening. We are listening. We're still listening today. And we just have to move forward in the best way for all children across the country and our 54 Congresses.
Thank you, Colin. There are no further questions. Do have a comment here. Consider when you vote that there may be insurance. Okay, let me back up. When we discussed and voted at our local meeting regarding the dues increase, I had trouble answering in detail about the benefits that come directly from National. But I do want to say that being from Maryland, when our state PTA failed us and it was time for National to step in, they kept us whole and they were our leaders when we had no one else. I ask that you consider when you vote that they may be the insurance you pay for, that you hope you never need. And often we don't realize how much an organization or person is doing until they stop providing services. Since that came in, we received another question. How can you justify the huge increase to Title I schools that are low income and could use every dollar needed for local school level programming and don't really see much national PTA support to Title I schools? I can give that as a hybrid to both Anna and Allison if you guys want that.
Allison, I'm going to let you go first. I'm going to let you go first on this.
Okay, thank you, Miss Anna. That is certainly something that we have done a lot of thinking about. And first of all, I want to frame this a little bit. The total dues rate for National's portion that we're talking about is $4 a year. That's a little more than a penny a day. So that's the first thing as a more general response to some of this. And then the second thing is, I don't know if you realize this, but National PTA is actually one of the strongest voices supporting Title I funding for schools and families and students and communities that's so desperately needed. So, so justifying it, I don't find it that hard to do. Do there need to be ways to be creative in looking at meeting that need? Sure. And I can promise you that National PTA is also looking at those ideas. But we are the voice that is leading the way to continue and to expand Title I funding for schools. Okay, I'm on my soapbox, Anna, so I'm going to step off so you can speak. Thank you.
No, because see, I knew that you could do that, right? I'm from a Title I school. My whole community is Title I. And so is yours. Absolutely right, Rob. Right, Allison. And we get this. We hear your concerns. But the data that we have collected, especially when we did this amazing membership campaign, and we got some data back that says that, and especially from communities like mine, it's the value that everybody sees that they pay for. If you ask somebody to join PTA at a local unit, which I do all the time, I'm asking them to support the children in the school by doing these things. I can list down a whole list of what that is going to do to show them the value of who we are. And then let them know about the National Association. Did you know that being a member, not only are you a member of the school, but you're a member of a state and a national association that has been around for 126 years. And these are the things that we have highlighted and done to create change in our school. It's selling the value. Yes, there are families that might not be able to pay, right? And we know this. We know this right now, especially coming out of this pandemic. And there's other opportunities. And I've seen schools give grants to parents and grandparents to be members of their local chapter. But don't underestimate a parent or a guardian of what they can and cannot do. Just because it says it's a Title I school doesn't mean that the parents can't support being a member of this association if they see the value in what you do and the difference it's going to make for their children. That's why people join, because they're asked and they see the value. And if we're not selling PTA the way that we're supposed to, then we need to go back to the drawing board and do a little bit better. And that's why this is important, because we want to help you do that. We know that we can help you do that. We know that we can help our states, but never underestimate a parent in a Title I school.
Anna, may I just tag on one last thing? I know, thank you, because your passion is beautiful and it's meaningful too. So I just like to comment briefly. This is one of the big myths about PTA schools. And I think this is an important point at which to dispel it. The myth is that PTAs are only in affluent schools, and that's not true. 57% of all schools in the United States are Title I schools. And then I want you to understand that 53% of all PTAs are in Title I schools. And so there are parents and schools that see value now, and we want to expand that value for them. Thank you.
The next question is about the webinar in particular. Yvonne, can we share this recording with the field? I don't know if you can see what it's in the chat, but yes, go ahead, Yvonne.
Yeah, so we recorded this and it will be shared with all attendees this evening. I want to say one other thing about the Title I thing. I just can't be quiet about this. I believe that Anna spoke about this. Something that we do as an association is we are a membership association that advocates for every child in the 54 Congresses. And one of the main things that we advocate for is increase in Title I funding. And if we were not to exist, who's going to advocate for those children? We need to elevate our voices even more than we do now. We need to expand our collective voices by increasing our membership, which means more members. I don't care if you're a Title I school, an affluent school. All I care about, and all we should all care about, is that every child gets what they need in this country. And Title I does not preclude people from not being part of the PTA family. As a matter of fact, I feel like it's a benefit for a Title I school. Look what we were able to do for schools during the pandemic. That speaks volumes. I just wanted to share that. Thank you, Beth.
No worries. Bill, I'm going to give this to you. For those who support local units and the National PTA, is it too much to ask for full transparency?
Yeah, good question. So, the budgets are online. We put an awful lot around the new dues rate question online. We've got lots of resources out there regarding how we spend our money. Sometimes the question is like, I guess when you're National Secretary Treasurer, it's one thing to look at everything and be like, yeah, it's all out there, but you don't know that because you're not, and it's easy for folks to feel like there are things that are being hidden. I can share with you that things are very open and we're being as transparent as we can be in terms of all of the information around the budget and how we intend to spend new money and how we intend to move forward with the budget that we have right now. We're here anytime. If you want to talk to any board member, we're all very happy to talk about our experiences with all of this. I will share also, there was a comment earlier around, shouldn't we just tighten our belt more? Isn't it time to downsize perhaps? And, you know, I've been on finance committee this past 2 years. The first year we came at the budget like we're going to trim every expense we can trim. And the finance committee, which, you know, you've got three of the finance committee here, we looked at everything, and we worked with national staff in partnership to think about every way we could, you know, creatively trim things without getting into the things that would hurt all of you. And we were able to take 14% out of the budget last year. But you know what? This year, no. It's like this year, we would not have been responsible stewards by going back and saying we're going to offer less than what we're offering right now. It just simply isn't responsible. And, you know, I would not be able to sleep at night by thinking about this association being any less than what it is. This dues increase is important. It's directed with your voice toward the things that you need and want. And we all need to think about how we can support the entire PTA ecosystem, national supporting states, supporting locals. And if anyone needs a dues increase, we should all be supporting each other on this. It's an investment for our children, and we all need to be helping each other to make sure that we've got the resources that we need in order to provide the services that our kids deserve. And it's kind of as simple as that.
The last question, this is going to be the last question of the evening, and I'm going to give it to Anna. When will the results of the proposed dues rate vote be announced?
So the proposed dues rate, the proposed bylaws, the officer results, the board results, the NLRC, all of the business of National PTA will be shared with everybody on June 4th. And I want to say it's during general session number 5.
It's June 24th. On
June
Saturday,
20
June 24th.
Did I say June 24th? What did I say?
You
July?
said 4th. It's fine. It's fine.
I said what? June
You
what?
said the 4th. It's the 24th.
Oh yeah, because woo, that's right around the corner. Yeah, absolutely. June 24th. I meant to say June 24th. And that was good because, you know, this has been a really great conversation, and we needed this laughter at the end. So thank you. Thank you so much, Beth.
That's all the questions for the evening. I'll give it to you, Anna, to close.
Okay, thank you. I want to give the officer team 30 seconds to a minute to say why this is important to you. And I'm going to start with Allison. Okay, 30 seconds to a minute.
Wow, and I'm up first. Okay. Why is it important? More than anything else, it's because we want to meet the needs and the requests and the and in some cases they're really desperate needs that are being communicated to us by state leaders, by district and council and region leaders, by local leaders. We don't have the infrastructure to be able to do that. We have taken some things that were handled by amazing staff members. Those positions had to be eliminated. I believe that was in 2019 when those positions were eliminated. And so since then we've had to have people step in to, as members of governance, as volunteers, to try to provide services that you need to have staff people to do, but we don't have the money to do it. We've cut, as Bill said, we've cut this time and every other time, and now we're out of cuts, and we need this to serve you. That's why.
That was a little bit longer than 30 seconds or a minute, but thank you, Allison. I'm going to turn it over to you, Colin.
I think about impact, and I think about the impact that PTA at a local level has had on not just my 2 kids, but the kids who sat next to them, and where those kids may have ended up if it wasn't for some of the programs that PTA ran in our local units. I always say this was never for my kids. This was for all the other kids out there that didn't have what my kids had or have. And I want PTA to be around when my kids are having kids. And I'm a grandparent, not yet. Cross my fingers for it won't be for a while. But when that happens, I want there to be a PTA that my kids can be a part of. And then as that just continues, and the impact is so long lasting that I want us to be here for another 126 years at least.
Thank you, Colin. And you can see that we're very passionate about this. So this 30-second in a minute window does not work for each of us, okay? So just bear with us because I do want to get with Bill and with Yvonne. Okay, so we're going to keep this, we're going to do it as best as we can so we can close everybody out and get them out on time. So Bill, you're next. And thank you, Colin and Allison.
Thanks, Anna. And, I was on my soapbox a minute ago, so I'll be brief. This has all been designed by people who spent lots and lots and lots of time, decades and decades individually at local units. And all of us have worked in state leadership as well. And, when you look at what kids need in this country and what the power of PTA can bring to those children, it's like asking for $1.75 from any individual person in this country. It's important enough to ask. If they can't give it, okay, but my bet is that most people in this country can give us another $1.75 in order to do this important work. And that by having that, we can help support all of the people who can't. And that's what it's all about. We're one PTA, and working together is just critically important.
Here. Yvonne.
I'll try to be as brief as possible, but everyone has said a lot of what I would have said, but I'm going to share something with you. I am a grandparent, I'm a bubby, and my grandson says to me often, I hate that I have to share you with so many children. Why can't you always just worry about me? And I said, because we have to care about everybody. And that's why I'm involved in PTA, because I care about every single child in this nation. And now he understands it. He's 7 years old, so he has a better understanding of it. And just the other day, he was over for my husband's birthday, and he said, he's going to come when I get installed. And he said, I can't wait to wear my suit jacket and stand really proud while you stand up and you hug every child in this nation, because to him, that's what it's about. And that's why we are all involved with PTA, because we care about every kid, because we want to elevate our voices. A lot of us got involved with PTA for different reasons, but we stayed here because we care about this association. So I'm going to actually say, I am asking you to please support this dues increase so that we can take PTA into the future for the next 126 years.
Thank you. And you can see this is each one of the officers is speaking passionately about this. Before I tell you my why, I'm going to just say thank you to all of you guys for your commitment and your passion that you give every day for our children across this country. I want to say thank you for the questions and for participating in this session today. It's been a privilege to serve all of you as we work to make a difference in the lives of all of our children. And we know that what it takes to run a PTA. And I also know the challenges you are experiencing across this country. I've seen it firsthand. This proposed new dues rate is the path to help our children and our PTAs to keep our mission vibrant and thriving. And I'm going to say that again. It's going to help our children and PTA to keep our mission vibrant and thriving. And I want to remind you that only members of the voting body, as defined by the National PTA bylaws, may vote. And we have that at pta.org. If you go to the FAQ, you will see the answer to that question. If you wish to vote during convention and not a member of governance, you will need to be selected as a state PTA delegate. You must register for convention by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, May 31st. I'm going to say it again. You have to be registered for convention by 11:59 p.m. on May 31st, Eastern Standard Time. And for your name to be part of the delegate selection process. All states pick their delegates. All registrants are urged to open the email you will receive on June 1st from credentials@pta.org to learn more about the voting on the virtual ballot during our convention. Please whitelist or add this address to your safe senders list. It's really important that you do that. Our state PTAs must submit their list of state delegates by 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Thursday, June 8th. Visit pta.org/elections for more information about becoming a member of the voting body, voting on the virtual ballot, and our candidates, which is extremely important. We're voting on a new officer team, board of directors, and 2 more NLRC members. Elections will be online and voting will also be open Thursday, June 15th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. All voting members will receive an email with an online ballot instruction from our voting vendor, directvote.net. New this year, voting members can opt to vote via text. To do this, you must have been registered your cell phone number by noon of June 8th through the email instructions from our voting vendor. And the voting vendor, I'm going to say this again, is extremely important that you open up your email that you're going to get from our voting vendor, directvoter.net. You can review all details on the proposed new dues rate and our convention business on our website. Now, my wife, we have a national association where, unlike any parent group across this country, I'm not going to give any names, but we are the one and only parent association that has a national association. I'm gonna say we're the largest and the oldest, and we've got the work done. We have to be good stewardess of this association. And it doesn't start with just our board, it starts with all of us, our members and our leaders in our local units, all the way to our state, up to the top from our board of directors. And we have to think about the future of this association. Don't you want people to look back in the future to see the difference that we made to strengthen our mission and to grow our membership and to grow our voice, to make an impact on children? My why is simple. It is a combination with everybody on here, the officer team and what they said. My why is simple. It's kids. It's about the work that we do that makes an impact on all children, all, regardless of who they are or where it comes from. It's our obligation as leaders in this association and as a member to represent all families and all children. They deserve the very best. Our children are facing some critical problems across this country, and PTA is always in the forefront. In the halls of Congress, in the halls of your states, in your school board meetings, even at a parent-teacher conference. We are advocating for our children. There's no better work than that. We have to keep this mission moving forward. A dues rate from 2023 and go back to 2000 with the 50-cent increase. And the last time we got a 50-cent increase was 12 years ago. And you think that we can keep operating the same way? We can't. We cannot. And we want to do more. And we want to help our states grow. We want this information to trickle down to our local levels, but we need your support to do that. We hear your concerns. We are concerned too. We're all in this together. We're one PTA. Our why is to make sure that our children reach their fullest potential. And the way that we can do that is by getting this proposed dues rate. As Yvonne said, she's a bubby. Her grandson is excited that she's getting ready to step into this role. My family has been happy that I'm about to come home and spend more time with them, because I have been advocating for not only for children, but for you. And that's what we do as servant leaders in this wonderful association. My grandsons and grandkids were excited when I stepped into this role, and they're like, we're ready for you to come back. And guess what? When I come back, I'm going to be with them, but I'm still going to advocate for kids. Because once a PTA member and leader, always a PTA member and leader. And I'm going to support Miss Yvonne when she moves this association forward. And that's why we need this dues rate. So thank you for joining us, and we hope you have a great evening. And we hope to see you register for convention. The first general session starts on June 15th. Hope to see you there. Thank you, guys. Bye.